Do you know what Ada means?
No.
No.
Of course. I'm not Igbo, so I don't know what it means. Okay, cool. My name is Shade Oludoyi. I am 27 years old. I am the eldest of 3 siblings. My sister is 19 and my brother is 21. I should have said that round the other way around. But yeah, so those are my siblings. In terms of what I do, I'm a human capital consultant and I work at Deloitte.
Okay, my name is Shewa. I'm a trainee solicitor, just starting that, and I'm 25 years old. I've got 2 siblings, a sister and a brother. My sister is 22 and my brother is 19. I said my brother's wrong age, he's 20 now. Sorry.
It's not about.
So my name is Luna. I'm a 21-year-old student, currently studying international relations. I am your future communications consultant. From time to time, I do write poetry in my spare time, and I'm 21. I already said that. Sorry. And I have 2 siblings, 2 brothers.
So in one or few words, describe your childhood as the oldest daughter.
Ooh, this is a hard question.
Happy and stressful.
Okay, so I was basically the mini mum. Yeah, that's the best way to sum it up.
Continuous lessons and high expectations. So I always feel like I have to have my siblings in mind, like anywhere I go, especially when my parents are away from the house, so let's say they travel or whatever, I feel like I'm directly responsible for my siblings, even till now. So although, you know, they're a lot older, they're in uni, they're living their own life, when we're together at home, I feel like, oh, I have to know their every move, you know, and all of that.
Okay, so back then, obviously getting siblings ready for school, same time as I'm also getting ready for school, when we get back home, cooking food for them, just looking after them whilst my mum wasn't around, and just being like a good example, helping them out if they needed help, teaching them things. But also we had a lot of fun together as well.
So I feel as though my responsibilities were more so to do with disciplining my brothers. So advising them if they got into trouble in school or other things. My mum would say that I would need to speak to them, guide them more so. That was more so my role in the house.
When they were younger, I still kind of felt like that, but I would say I felt like I had to be more of a role model of like a perfect older sister, because I had 2 younger siblings that were looking up to me, and because I'm 27, my brother's 21 and my sister's 19, the age gap is quite big, but then when you're younger, the age gap it feels a lot bigger. So I felt like I had to be, you know, that perfect older sister for them to look up to.
Always making things lighter. So like, let's say something hard is going on at home, trying to divert from that situation and make it more playful and joyful. So I would say that was my role back then. And I feel like it still applies till today, to be honest.
When your first sibling arrived, how did you feel, if you remember?
Me and my brother are 15 months apart in age, so I don't remember how I felt when they came, but I just more so remember when we were growing up that we spent a lot of time together. We played out in the garden a lot together, activities inside the house, like we did everything pretty much together when we were at home.
Ooh, when my brother arrived, how did I feel? I was so young. I was like 5 going on 6. So I can't like explicitly remember, but I think when I first saw him, I was just like, oh, I didn't really, I don't think I had like an actual feeling. It was more just, oh, okay, there's a newbie around here now.
Obviously I'm really young then, so I'm not gonna say I have a vivid image of how I felt, but it just felt like there's someone there with me now that I can play with because she's a girl. So it was like, oh, she's got like a mini me to hang around with. I didn't really feel responsibility per se, just like, yeah, just someone else that I can play with.
I feel like the oldest child usually has a very, like a natural caring personality. So they're naturally the people that want to kind of look after people or be like the leader of, you know, a certain, let's say we're going on holiday, they want to be the person to kind of be in charge of everything or organize everything. So like usually they're natural organizers, but that's with ladies.
Yes, firstborn, I feel like we tend to be really driven. We tend to take on the role of a leader, just more hands-on. Like if you want to get things done, you tend to see that person who's the first one to say, okay, yeah, let's do this, let's do that. Most times they're firstborns.
With guys that are the first children, or the first child, again, quite similar. They have like, you know, that natural leadership tendency, or they want to kind of be in charge, you know.
I think you can tell with the eldest, I think the common themes are more so they take on the role as the carer, they want to make sure everyone's okay, they feel like they have a responsibility in the friendship group. I feel like that's what you can tell more so with the eldest child.
Secondborn, y'all are interesting. Very interesting, very outspoken, laid back. I'm just saying this because of my sister, so I'm not gonna generalize everyone. Laid back, bit more creative. I feel like they get a bit more leeway to do what they want. And fun, I'd say, yeah.
With the middle child, a lot of people say, and I don't always see it, but a lot of people say that like they're neither here or there. So they're just a bit like off, or they're just odd.
And then lastborn, they're just the baby of the house.
They're usually quite spoiled because they're the last child. You know, parents have all the time in the world for them.
More chill, more relaxed, have no care for what's going on.
And they're loved. They're really loved, you know, dearly. And you can kind of tell that by how they are sometimes. Yeah, that's what I would say.
But also really fun and playful, energetic. Yeah, that's how I describe those ranges.
Although there is the collective experience as the eldest daughter, it's important to discuss how African culture may or may not contribute to one's individual experience.
For me, it's definitely more of being a pastor's child that affects me, you know, in terms of being the eldest daughter, because I feel like a lot of the expectations that I have are from that pastor's child hat. So, you know, whether it's going to church with ripped jeans and, you know, Shade, you shouldn't be wearing this because you're an example and people are looking up to you, to, you know, I'm maybe sitting with my friends. This used to happen a lot when I was a bit younger, but I'd be sitting with my friends and let's say we're all talking during service, which we shouldn't be, but we're young, you know, we're children, we get restless, we get bored, and then I'll be the one that has to move because I'm a role model and I'm, you know, an example. So I feel like that probably affected me more than the African culture. I think it's a bit of culture but more so of, you know, pastor's child, I'm a pastor, so that kind of thing. And yeah, I feel like my experience as an older child, as the eldest daughter, was very different to my siblings, because when I see how much freedom they had, I'm just like, wow, I suffered, I paved the way so that you can enjoy now.
I would say culture, especially African culture, plays a huge part. I think one thing that I learned just growing up was respect is such a huge thing in African culture. So there are things that you will do, things that you will say just out of respect for those who are especially older than you. Like I can't be like to my mom, she says, oh, pick up your sibling after school. I can't be like, no, shut up, I'm not gonna do that. I've got things to do after school, I wanna go to after school club. It was a yes. You don't have to say yes, it was just like, that's something you had to do.
I would say it does play a role, but I can't explicitly say how it does. I think it's more so things that my mum learned from when she was younger, living back home in Eritrea, instilled in her that she sort of projected onto me. It's not necessarily negative, but it's things that sort of played a role in my role as the eldest daughter, and because my mum was one of the eldest in her household as well. So
I felt like I missed out a bit as well. So like when everyone's going out to play after school, I'd be like, oh, I've got to pick up my siblings after school. So that was a huge thing in regards to just the African culture, just respecting your elders, kind of doing what they tell you to do without having a choice. Growing up, it never seemed like we had a choice. It was just, if your parents say do this, then you do it. And they kind of set out guidelines, what they want you to do, and most times you kind of follow it. I never really spoke back. It wasn't really in my nature. I don't know if that's just the way I was brought up or just the character of mine, but I never spoke back. It was kind of just like, yeah, if mum says do this, dad says do that, I'm gonna do it. So quite obedient. And yeah, I'd say that was the main thing, African culture.
I don't think there was a particular moment where I realized that it was all negative or all positive. I think as I've grown older, I feel as though the role is more positive than negative, but when I was younger, it felt very heavy.
I don't know if I had a moment where I felt like being an oldest child is just not it. I think there were several moments where I just kind of felt a lot of responsibility, you know, and I think it was when I was younger, you know. Now it's not so bad because we're all a bit older, so everyone's doing their own thing, although I still feel like I have that responsibility, but it's just not as extreme. But when, you know, we were slightly younger, just the whole, my parents being extra strict on me and I couldn't do, you know, certain things or whatever, those were the moments where I was just like, I don't want to be a role model. Like, no, why? I didn't ask for anyone to look up to me. No one should look up to me, please. I remember I've actually said it a few times. Even with my dressing, sometimes I've been told, oh, you know, you're showing too much cleavage, this, that. And I think it does stem from the fact that I'm the oldest daughter, oldest child, so I need to kind of be that role model because people are looking up to me. And I've said to people, I don't want to be the role model. No one, like, I didn't ask for it. So please leave me alone. Let me live my life.
Okay, so I can't like pick an exact moment, but I feel like one of the main pros of being the oldest is just being able to kind of bridge that gap between African parents and our culture, so helping my younger siblings get through that. That's one thing that I really enjoy with them, and being able to have them with me, and they can relate to everything that I've been through because they're literally like brought up by the same parents. That's one thing that I really like about it. Cons, I feel like it's gonna come up negative, but I feel like there's a lot more cons that I can see now than pros, unfortunately. I do feel like it's just a huge responsibility, especially when you're younger, unnecessary responsibility, I'm just gonna put that out there, that we have to take on. And also, I wouldn't say it's the parents' fault per se. I feel like circumstances, so a lot of African parents, they might just not have the resources that they needed at a point in time to bring all of us up the way we should have been brought up, but they tried their best. But I feel like as the older sibling, like, you know more, you kind of gauge more what's going on. You just feel like, okay, I have to jump in and just help them and make it easier for them. So I wouldn't say it's their fault, but I would just say circumstances of life. And then you just feel like, okay, I'm gonna put on that cape. I'm gonna be, you know, the best older sister I can be. Just make things easier for both your parents and your siblings.
Like, at times I felt overwhelmed. Like, I felt like I was like, I had a lot of responsibility. I had to be, I wouldn't say that I had to be perfect, but I had to make sure that I was responsible, that my brothers could look up to me, and that I shouldn't do anything wrong. So I was very cautious about what I did, and I tried not to be disobedient or to get into trouble. And
where the con is, because sometimes you realize that you're living for other people rather than yourself, and it just becomes a conscious thing that you keep doing it until you take a break and be like, is this actually what I want to do? Like, or you feel like there's a lot of pressure on you to like do the best.
But I've definitely had several moments, and being the oldest child, I don't dislike it. I do like it. I feel like, you know, it's a joy to see my younger siblings grow. It really is, like, to see them becoming their own person, to see them doing their own thing and doing what they love and stuff. It's really nice to see. So I do like being the oldest child, you know, at time more than I dislike it.
Would you say that your family structure / type contributes a lot to your experience of the latter?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, being a pastor's child is a whole different ball game. So that's why I keep mentioning it, because I feel like that definitely had more of an effect and more of an impact on how I am and my experiences than just being the oldest daughter.
Me and my brothers were all really close in age. I think that contributes to my perspective and like my experience and everything, because I think other people who have younger siblings and they're older and they've grown up with those younger siblings, I think they still have that responsibility to make sure that they don't get up into any trouble, and that they still have to be a good role model. And although I still have that with my brothers, not as much because we're all quite grown, so there's an understanding that we can like all make mistakes, and that they're at a sort of conscious level that we're all grown up. So I don't really look at my brothers as younger anymore. I look at them as sort of like my age mates and my friends and people that at times I can rely on. So it's not that I look at them as my younger siblings anymore. But when I was younger, although our age gap was very, very close, it felt like they were my younger siblings, and that I was, that I had to be a role model, that I was responsible. Yeah, that I had to be responsible and everything.
I feel like if I was just the oldest daughter, my experience would have been a lot different. My parents aren't that traditional. So yes, they're Nigerian, but they're not like so traditional, because they didn't really grow up in Nigeria, you know, from like their teenage years. So how they are, their mentality is still, you know, of course, very Nigerian, but it's not so traditional. So yeah, in terms of family structure, being a pastor's child has all sorts of impacts on me and my experiences. And like I've mentioned,
I don't think it's okay. I'm just gonna explain what it is. So my mum is here in the UK, sorry, and it's me and my siblings and my mum. But my dad is in Nigeria, and he's always been in Nigeria. So we lived in Nigeria for a bit, then we came here, but he stayed. So I feel like that definitely shaped just my mentality, the way I approach things. I feel like just because it's my mum here, I wouldn't take major risks. I always remember that I've got that responsibility to be there to support her and my siblings, and I wanted to like be the best at everything, so that she knows that, you know what, she's here with us, but like we're making her proud. But also see my mom being like, I wouldn't say she's the head, but because my dad was in Nigeria, she did take on that role. So like my mom was a boss, like she was doing so much. She still went back to uni to study, even though she had a law degree in Nigeria. Like she was doing a lot, bringing us up. So that made me just respect her so much more, and like just want to make her proud and be like her. But then at the same time, because my dad wasn't around that much, a bit more of having him around in the house, I feel like that might have helped a lot more with the pressure as well. But my dad is lovely, but like, yeah, he did what he could being in Nigeria. But that definitely shaped the way I approach things, but also made me realize that women are amazing, because she was able to do all of that with the support of my dad in Nigeria, but just being here, doing all of that, yeah, it made me appreciate her a lot more and want to be the best person I could be, really.
Did your position as the oldest at any point affect your relationship with your siblings?
Ooh. Do you know, I feel like now they're more vocal about it, but I felt like, oh, they still say this, like I'm just a goody two shoes, like I would stick up for them, I would like, yeah, I just felt like I did everything my mom told me to do, which I'm not gonna lie, I did, because just growing up being the oldest, so just like, I want to set the good example, but also just out of respect for her, I wouldn't like question her like my sister. Sorry, I don't want to put you out there like that.
yes. Yeah, it did actually, because when, you know, when you're older, you feel like you need to put your foot down on certain things, or you feel like you need to be a disciplinarian, or you need to be the boss type thing. So for a long time, my siblings, well, I feel like they didn't. They kind of saw me as, bossy. She's so bossy. She's always going to tell me what to do, or what Shade going to complain about today. So I felt like that definitely did, because it was hard for me to find that balance between I'm your sister, so I want to be close to you, I want to vibe with you, I want to gist with you, but then I'm also older than you and I need to also discipline you if you don't do the right things or whatever. So
I admire that they're able to speak up a lot more, and it builds a better relationship because I wouldn't speak. So like if I was annoyed with my mum, I wouldn't say anything. I remember one time she brought it up, she's like, you don't speak to me, you don't talk, and still I couldn't say anything. I had nothing to say because just like sometimes that relationship isn't really there. It's just like, okay, mum, daughter, I was like a mini mum, so I'm just there trying to help support, but it was never a case of, oh, how are you feeling? What do you think we should do? It was kind of like, I just did what had to be done. But I can see with them, like they build that relationship a bit better with my mum now and my dad, which is really good to see. But yeah, they'll definitely say that I was good two shoes, but I did stick up for them certain occasions. But yeah,
I think from my side more so, because I think that if my brothers got into any trouble or that I needed to tell them off or discipline them, or it would more so from my side, I would just question and just get irritated and upset sort of, and not maybe hold resentment, but it would feel like that at times, that I would just be like, why are you doing this? Why can't you just behave? Why can't everything just be so smooth sailing? But as I grew older, I think I learned to separate those feelings and just not hold that against them, in a sense, to give them grace, to understand that people can make mistakes as well, and that they're learning just as much as I'm learning, and although that I may not be doing the same things that they're doing or getting into trouble or whatever, that I should still give them grace.
but she'll speak back to my mum. My brother speak back to my mum now, but like back then, I would just sit in silence. Like I wouldn't speak back, I'll take the beats, but I feel like, I don't know if it's, maybe they've seen me go through it, or it's just a different age where it's like, this generation is a bit more confident with speaking back. I don't know what it is, but they're more bold and fierce, and I admire that. I wish I did that when I was younger. I don't know how that would have went, but
and not be so harsh on them, because I think me being harsh kind of pushes them away, then brings them closer to me. I think that if I just come from a more understanding perspective whilst still being stern and telling them, being honest with them about the situation, that they'll respect that more so than me just getting annoyed or angry or upset with them and speaking out of emotion.
yeah, it definitely did affect that relationship in the early years, and in the past couple of years, like now we're really close, and I think it's just because now we're older. Someone gave me advice that speak to your siblings like they're your friends, you know, and that's worked wonders, because I literally would speak to them like I speak to a friend. So it's not like, oh, the older sister. Of course, there's still that respect there, like you would have for anyone that's older than you, but now we have a friendship. And yeah, it took a while to develop, but we got there.
What three main traits would others say that you have?
Confidence,
Caring,
very positive person,
empathetic,
responsible,
patient, very patient,
hardworking, even though sometimes I don't feel like that, but yeah.
lighthearted.
hardworking. So those are my three traits that I think other people say about me.
And bearing that in mind, what three main traits would you say that you have but you wish others were aware of or acknowledged? So you said you were optimistic, you were patient, and I forgot what the third one is, but what would you want others to know that, okay, that's great, but share was also these three things?
Insecurity, like insecurity, and I think maybe people know, I don't know, because it's not something I'm going to announce to the world, but yeah, like I definitely still have my insecurities.
Fun, because I feel like people think, I don't know, I think I'm fun anyway.
Harsh at times and quite black and white in situations.
Comparison is something I do struggle with, just kind of comparing where I am with other people. I still struggle with, okay, I'm there now, but look at everyone else that's around my age. They're this level and I'm this level. So I'm
not sensitive, but I feel like just with the way I am, I feel like people might just think I'm always so positive and focused, but like I'm human. Like can be sensitive, I can have my down days. So like people seeing that as well.
People always assume that I know what I'm doing, that I have everything together, when that's not always the case. That I'm just well organized with everything, when that's not completely true.
Emotional. Yeah, very emotional.
Maybe creative, yeah, because I'm trying to dabble into that a bit more, but I feel like if maybe I did a bit more of that when I was younger, people would see that a lot more, but I think I'm someone that's quite creative.
I think that people think that I can just be stepped all over on, when that's not the case at all. I think that I hope that people think that I'm quite understanding, and that I try and understand people's perspectives, but I think people can often misconstrue that from taking anything. But I think I'm just more so aware of grace and understanding perspective a lot, so that's why I can have conversations with different things.
The moment where I felt like I broke free and I became Sade, Oludoyi, unapologetic, didn't care about anyone's opinions, Loughborough 2013 university. Uni for me was such an eye-opener. Like, I feel like that's when I almost became like rebellious because first time moving away from home, I could go out anytime I wanted and no one could tell me anything. I could leave my house at 1 a.m, come back at 7 a.m, and like I was accountable to no one.
I think I never felt restricted in anything, because I don't think that my mum stopped me from doing whatever I wanted to do, whether it's with my studies. I think she had expectations of what she wanted me to do and what she preferred, what career path I went down, but I don't think I was ever stopped. I think that I will always have the role of the older sister. My mum will always rely on me to speak to my brothers, guide my brothers, and I don't necessarily see it as such a bad thing as when I was younger.
I think it was whilst I was at university. It's just so mad. I think it was second year. I didn't know what snapped. I tweeted something there, and I think I was just like, I don't care this year, I'm doing me. And since that tweet, I feel like I ran with it. I'm not gonna say it's still like perfect, and I'm definitely living my, authentic life. I feel like it's a process, but I'm getting there. But it's just finding that inner peace, like what makes me happy, like not what makes other people happy, but what am I actually happy doing?
It's so important for parents to get that balance right, because if you're too strict, I guarantee you your child will retaliate, and it might not be in a pleasant way, right? So yeah, I would say uni for me. And since then I've been discovering myself, and I keep discovering myself, and even now recently I'm still, discovering who I am, but I'm a lot more like secure in who Sade Oludoyi is.
I'm not gonna lie, I am a yes man. Like, people be like, do this, do that. I'm like, yeah. Meanwhile, like, I'm stressed, or it's too much, or I'm overwhelmed. So one thing that I started learning to do was just saying no and being okay with that. Say no and don't even have to explain yourself, like, because we have to give excuses like, oh, but maybe this time, maybe that time. But like, just saying no and having the peace of mind, okay, that was the right move for you at that point in time. So I would say, yeah, whilst I was at uni was the breaking point, kind of like, I can't live for others anymore. I need to do what makes me happy. And a lot of people say this year, when, parents are old and gone, like if you're doing things that they told you to do and you're miserable, like they're gone, like they've lived their life, you're gonna sit there and thinking, I wish I made these moves, I wish I did that. So I'm still learning. I'm not gonna say that, yeah, I do everything that I want to do, but it's a process, and I'm starting to do more of it, just putting me first.
I don't know if me being the eldest daughter has contributed to my friendships or my relationships, No, I don't know if it has. I'm just trying to think of examples of even in my like previous romantic relationships where I feel like maybe it could have, but I don't think so.
So I was the friend that I think I was nurturing, but I would be the person to always listen. So I wouldn't really say much about what's going on in my life. I'll just be there to take everyone else's baggage and basically there to help them, give them good advice. But then sometimes I would think to myself, like, this is a lot to take on. And I wouldn't offload to anyone else because that's the kind of person I was. Like growing up, being the oldest sibling, I wasn't really gonna offload to my younger siblings. I wasn't really gonna talk to my mom, so it's like kind of kept a lot in. But then growing up, I realized that, and it's now something that I'm trying to do a lot more. Just be a lot more vulnerable, more open. I don't always have to be that strong, fierce, confident person, and it's okay to be vulnerable or sensitive. So I'm trying to do that a lot more with my friends now, because before it would just be like, yeah, they're telling me all about their issues, but I wouldn't really speak much or say much about what's going on with me. So I'm trying to do that a lot more.
I think it's been good in the sense that by nature I'm a very caring person, so I just want to make sure that everyone's okay. If I can help out wherever I will do so. And sort of I try and put my needs behind other people's, which is not necessarily the best thing, but I think it's good for other people because their needs are met, and so that's how that relates.
If anything, it was maybe the opposite, where in my romantic relationships previously, I really just wanted someone to love me, but I don't think that was a result of being, you know, a first child. It could have just been down to maybe insecurities at the time, or just really wanting someone to like love me to the point where you almost come across desperate.
With romantic relationships, I would say I was not trying to nurture anyone. I'm so sorry. I think maybe because I was doing that a lot already, that was one thing that I definitely didn't want to do, and I wanted to be taken care of. So maybe because I was the one always taking care of other people, that was something that I've always wanted. So if I was seeing that, that was definitely been a no for me. Sorry, I don't want a baby. I don't want to be looking after someone. I want someone who's confident. Obviously, I can look after someone, but someone who can take care of me as well. But then you do notice a lot of those traits in men. Don't know why, maybe because they're the boys and the mothers like to nurture their sons. But I wanted someone who I'd be like, okay, yeah, you're confident, you know, you can look after me. I mean, we're all humans, I also look after him as well, but I wasn't trying to look after anyone's son, sorry.
I think the pressures that I feel now is still to do well, more so, and just still be a role model, but I don't feel the heaviness of that anymore because of how me and my brother's age gaps are not that big. Like, because we're all very close in age, I feel like I'm more there to advise them, but not even as their eldest sister, but just more so as their friend in that sense.
Sometimes it's just the pressure to be perfect, like to just be the exemplary role model who doesn't make any mistakes. So like even with my walk with God, sometimes I feel pressure to just be perfect, you know, just be that like a saint, and that's just not who I am. I absolutely love Christ. I have a great relationship with God and all, but I'm not perfect, and no one is, so no one should expect me to.
Like, I feel like our relationship has changed, and I feel that's come with us growing up, because when we were younger I didn't really feel like that. Even though the age gap hasn't changed, it's still the same, but I feel like because we're all older, we're all adults as well, we have autonomy sort of over our lives, and yeah.
I feel a bit of pressure here and there to kind of be that, you know, exemplary role model. Definitely not from my siblings though. From my parents, no, I wouldn't say I feel much pressure from them either. It's more outsiders. And Sade, even just last year, someone called my dad to say, oh, Sade's dress had so much cleavage, you know, I can't support that, you know, all of this, and I'm just like, so yeah, sometimes I still feel that pressure, but you just have to block it out.
Who or what has helped you on your journey as the adult? Was there a particular auntie? Was it a podcast or show? Icons that you saw, like, yeah man, their first daughters? Because fun fact, Beyonce, Oprah Winfrey, and what's her name, Serena, they're all firstborn daughters, and there's the book that I read into it, like, they would say the same thing a lot about being first daughters. Like, there's obviously a collective experience, but they definitely all had someone and something to like help them on this journey. So what has helped you, like, on your journey?
I'm from a single parent family, so my mum raised us by herself mostly, and I would say more so it's my mum's side of the family that have been very, very supportive. There's just so much love on that side of the family, so I never felt like I was alone, or although it felt like overwhelming at times, I felt like I could always be open and speak. And because they know my mom so well, because that's either their sister or that's their sister, so they can advise me quite well at times as well, and that's what's made us quite close. And I would say my friends as well. My friends are very supportive. They're amazing soundboards, amazing people. So I always felt loved. I never felt like I was ever alone, ever.
I wouldn't say like one person. I feel like my friends have actually been really helpful. Just having a very good support system. I feel like they make me feel like I can like be more of myself. I feel like when you're at home, your family, I feel like you have different versions of yourself, to be honest. But like when I'm out with my friends, I feel like I don't feel like the oldest daughter. I don't feel like I have to have it all together, say the right things. I'm just being myself and just being true to myself. So yeah, they've been really helpful.
Maybe a couple of my mentors. Yeah, I have a couple of mentors, especially faith mentors, that have kind of helped me in my journey of not in particular about being an Ada, but just in my journey of becoming me and discovering who I am, and then also just growth and being able to speak to my parents about my concerns. You know, if there's something I'm not happy with, something I don't like, you know, that might be affecting me as being the oldest, I now feel comfortable enough to mention it to them. So a lot of it is a journey, and it comes with time. But yeah, I think those are the main things that have helped. So growth, and then having mentors.
I would say some mentors that I've had from church even, they've just been like really supportive and encouraging me to do what I want and be the best version of myself. I would still say, like, honestly, I look up to my mom. Like, she is definitely like set a standard, just of the kind of person you should be in regards to like your character, and just the way I approach things in life. She's very persistent, very confident. So yeah, that's really helped me also navigate life.
What do you want people to know just about being the Ada, the oldest daughter? What should they know about it? Or what should your aunt know about it, your mum know about it? Or just aunties, just those like,
Anyone, Being the oldest child, so what I kind of wish people knew is that it's a lot of pressure. So we don't need added pressure from anyone else really, because we already kind of feel like we need to be perfect for our siblings. So we just don't need the external voices adding any extra pressure.
Don't project on us. Like, I just feel like there's so much projection. I don't know if they know they're doing this, but just the expectations are so unrealistic. Because I'm not gonna point things at anyone, but if you look back at our parents' lives, it's not gone perfectly. You didn't do all those things that you want me to do. I mean, we're all progressing in life. I think just, I was gonna say, cut us some slack, to be honest. Like, give us the opportunity to breathe.
That we don't always have it together, that we're allowed to make mistakes because humans make mistakes, that we're allowed to be given grace. And I think that our testimonies in that are so important, because it just shows that we're human and that we can all relate to one another. And I think it alleviates the pressure off as well.
I mean, it's good to have standards and expectations, but be there to listen to us, to hear our side of things, to help us. I feel like sometimes they push us more than help us. So just be there to actually uplift us as well. I think that's one thing, actually, just more words of encouragement. Growing up, I did not get that emotional support as much as I wanted to. I feel like I get a bit more now, actually, but just like words of encouragement, like, you can do this, like, you're amazing. I don't think I ever heard that. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't think I ever heard that growing up. It's kind of like, oh, you can do better. Why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? It wasn't always like, you know, words of encouragement. So I think that's one thing that they need to do a lot more. Just build us up instead of break us down.
What do you wish that younger Luna knew?
I think what I wish for younger Luna to know is that
that's a good one.
What would I tell younger Sade? I would tell younger Sade that worrying is the worst emotion ever.
You can choose not to let things overwhelm you. You can choose to not let things change your mood or make you feel bogged down. I think as I've grown older, things when I was younger that used to just overwhelm me and make me drift into loads of thoughts, I feel like I can control that better now, and I feel like that's come with time and age.
Jam-packed. Okay, so I guess it's okay to say no. That's one thing. And just live the life that you want to live.
Worry, comparison. I feel like everyone knows comparison isn't good, but it's so easy to do it. So I would tell my younger self, don't worry about anything. It's a waste of time and waste of an emotion. Comparison is the thief of all joy. There's nothing good that comes out of comparing yourself. And live in the moment. Take breaks off social media. Don't be so consumed in what is happening around you that you just forget who you are in your journey. Yeah, that's what I'll tell younger Sade.
Don't be afraid to do what you love. Be yourself. Don't try and fit in with other people. Yeah, be yourself and be the best version of yourself. And don't be afraid to go out to places that other people haven't done. Like, you might not have seen maybe black people go there, or maybe people in your generation. Like, don't be afraid to do things that puts you out there, essentially.
What message do you have for all the Adas watching you? So for all the eldest daughter, like, oh my gosh, like Sade said, there's hope for me, it's not all bleak. Like, what do you want to tell them?
I would tell, because a lot of Adas would feel like they don't have their own sense of individuality, because, you know, they're just known as the oldest child, the primary caregiver, whatever. I would just say, please find yourself, find what you love, discover what you love, do what you love, have good friends around you, and don't be afraid to kind of tell your parents or tell people around you how you feel. If you are feeling overwhelmed, please voice it, let people know, have conversations, and yeah, just find yourself. That's just the best feeling, the most fulfilling feeling.
If you ever feel like you're not valued or not appreciated, that you very much are. Especially, I feel as though if you have siblings that are much younger than you, and you're sort of responsible for guiding them and helping out your parents in raising them, you can often feel like you're not appreciated, or that your siblings are not understanding your perspective or whatever. But there will be a time where your siblings will understand your perspective and will appreciate you, and they do appreciate you. It's just when you're a younger sibling at that, most of the time as well, you only sort of understand your perspective, and you don't understand the pressures or the weights of your elder sibling.
You are amazing. You are worth it. You don't need people's validation or affirmation. Like, you're doing a lot, you know. Like, you should clap for yourself. You're doing a lot and you're doing amazing, and it might not be the easiest thing at the moment or the easiest process, but it does get better. And Jesus loves you, because yeah, I'm a believer, so I feel like everything is going to work out for your good regardless.
As an eldest daughter within, you know, the remit of like patriarchy and household and all of that kind of stuff, and then also trying to find the space where I actively challenge those things and actively challenge them as being part of my identity and all of that jazz. So yeah, I guess a positive is, yeah, I've become my own person, but at what cost?
Whilst you're going through that experience of growing up and formative years, because you hold that position in the birth order as the firstborn daughter,